Hello, everybunnies, and welcome back to the Tin Rabbit Podcast, where we unravel the mysteries of our world one theory at a time. Tonight, we're diving into the fascinating topic of the secular nature of history and how it can be manipulated by those who write it. Imagine a grand wheel turning through the ages. Civilizations rise and fall, empires expand and crumble, yet the patterns remain eerily familiar. It's as if we're all actors in a play that keeps repeating itself, with only the costumes and settings changing. Take the Roman Empire, for instance. At its peak, it was a beacon of culture and power, but over time, it became plagued by corruption and external threats. Fast forward to modern times, and we see familiar patterns in global powers. It's as if history is trying to teach us lessons, but we keep forgetting to do our homework. But wait, there's another layer to this story: the manipulation of history by its authors. History is written by the victors, and those in power often shape the narrative to suit their agendas. They highlight their triumphs and downplay their failures, creating a version of history that serves their interests. This selective storytelling can obscure the truth and perpetuate myths that influence our understanding of the past and our decisions in the present. So how can we navigate this manipulated history? The key is to question everything. Seek out multiple perspectives, dig deeper into primary sources, and always be aware that the biases that may color the narratives we encounter. By doing so, we can uncover a more nuanced and accurate picture of our past, and perhaps learn to break free from the cycles that bind us. Remember, history may be cyclical, but it's our understanding of it doesn't have to be. Stay curious, stay vigilant, and keep those tinfoil hats on tight. Let's dig in and jump down that rabbit hole.
Good evening, Fluffles, and welcome to the Tin Rabbit Podcast. Tonight we are going to pause and take a little time to look at time and the cycles of time. We're going to try and figure out if it's either a 100-year or 80-year cyclical sort of thing, or if we are being manipulated and our history is just written in 100-year cycles, or are we just too ignorant to know our history and therefore are doomed to repeat it, I guess.
That's pretty much the camp I'm in, man. And
right?
Yep. So it is I, Bad Cookies, Mastermind Hours, here with me today. And so is Better Half Hour. Hello, everyone. Hello, all the tin fluffles out there. If you could do me a favor, please like, share, and subscribe. We can talk about next week's show. Next week's show is going to be NASA, the entertainment division of the military-industrial complex.
Ooh, that's going to be a good one.
So tune in if you like theories on if the moon landing was faked, or what the moon is really about, or if other space odysseys never actually occurred. Please tune in next week, and that's when we'll find that out.
I have a Formage theory.
And even if NASA is real, which is, I can't wait to do some research on this, because you guys are informing me about a couple government documents I can get my hand on that.
Yeah, I will have some photos for that one. We'll have a show and tell.
All right. So I wanted to always, at the beginning of the show, read the disclaimer. This program is a fictional portrayal of a couple of knuckleheads who are pretending to be conspiracy experts. This podcast in no way should be considered informational and is for entertainment purposes only.
Yes, I completely concur with that sentiment.
All right, man. So let's dig into this here. Better Half Hour, you want to give any thoughts beforehand?
About as a whole for the show from a historical perspective.
What was your research?
Well, I just heard you talking about noticing some patterns in history, and that you had this idea that things were cyclical. So I went to the library and started looking at like ancient histories. And oh, by the way, I found a really good book on the CIA, IBM, and typewriters. So for the technology show, I hope to get into that a little bit. But just that you were taking like it's called historicism, and it's like a viewpoint of looking at history from not a philosophical, but just from a societal perspective. And I know you're going to be talking about, is he a philosopher, or he wrote a book on cyclical time stuff?
Oh, Howe well, there was two guys.
Howe
it was
Strauss.
Strauss and Howe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cyclical. And then, but you were talking about a 100-year cycle, and Cookie got excited about that. You guys were going to try to see if you could notice some patterns, and you're going to let us know about like what your research, what you came to with that. And then I was thinking about who manipulates history, because like on our reality episode, when we talked about Plato, and you two were talking about like who's casting those shadows that are in the cave, and who like the manipulators are, and me having that educational background with teaching, like who decides with the textbooks, and more than just if Churchill even said it, he who, whatever that quote is. What's the quote?
About
the victors write the history books, or what have you.
History is written by the victor.
And then I was also reminded, I think we're going to discuss how the media helps write history in regards to like being manipulated by the media and what's recorded in those instances.
Well, yeah, if you can change the public sentiment on something through the manipulation in your mainstream media,
Right.
then when they write that down in a history book, nobody will question it because they have video proof.
Or newsletter,
Sure.
Right, or video proof, right.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you get that now. I mean, in schools, like I don't know what region you have to be in, but I know that there's a difference between the regions that you're in. Like in the North, they'll teach you certain things about slavery and how World War II started and other things like that, where in the South, the curriculum's vastly different. And sometimes you'll have conversations with people like that where like, oh, that's not what I was taught in school. Well,
Right.
you should have been taught math, but you weren't. So
Right.
We'll look at that from a perspective of, the standards are created on a federal level, but really what they hone down in is state standards. And then it goes down to your district, which is like, could be a collaboration of a bunch of different counties together, depending on the populations. And so usually the districts are the ones, that are choosing like the extra reading and things like that. And we could talk about that more as you guys dive in, but I'm interested to hear about your 100-year cycle. Did you guys find anything, or what? I mean, that had to be hard. I don't know.
You want me to go first, Mastermind, or you want to take this?
Be my guest. Be my guest.
All right, man.
Well, I'm sorry, Cookie. What is the 100-year cycle? Just talk about like what you thought about that first, Mastermind. I don't even think we just kind of we jumped into education somehow, but
right.
Yeah.
I was looking at stuff and seeing how there were things that are happening in 1924 that were very rhymey with 2024.
So every 100 years, something similar was happening. Every 100-ish years, you felt like,
Right.
Okay. So now, sorry, I just didn't understand what we meant by 100-year cycle.
Yes,
Okay.
just that we're on a 100-year loop.
Yep. Okay, Cookie. I didn't mean to interrupt you. The big picture, I missed that part.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
Where was I? Oh, so my research, when I started my research for this, what I wanted to do was correlate how the stock market is very eerily similar to crypto, but I couldn't find any statistical evidence to support that statement. Every time I looked something up, it was like, 1920 stock market mirrors 1940 stock market and all kinds of other things. So I couldn't find, plus it's just crypto is so recent that they don't really have a whole lot of tracked history of it. A lot of it is hidden in your algorithms, and not everyone knows how much money you actually have in crypto unless you tell them. So it doesn't get tracked the way stock market did back then. I had a difficult time trying to prove my theory here.
Right. Well, and when I was getting into this, when I started researching this Strauss-Howe book, it was the Wall Street crash of 1929, And then we had the housing crash of 2008, and that's almost exactly 80 years, which is, they go on it. They think the loop is more of a human lifespan.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes a whole lifetime, and then they can just reflip the script.
Right.
You know,
that
let's
was
do it
the
all
whole
over again.
idea of I just quickly looked at what, I didn't even know, I never heard of the fourth turning. I thought it was like the four, when I was doing ancient history, because they believe the earth has been redone 4 times in ancient history stuff. But this was more about, like, they compare time to the life of a person.
Right. And
So
it,
an 80-year lifespan,
Right.
100 tops, was how
and
I
it kind of
understood
goes
it.
in 4 seasons.
Yeah, and their theory were that usually it's 4 generations that fight for that control of that generation cycle.
Right. Let's see, I did write that down. So if we're in a turning here, so they have the cycles go from high to awakening, then the unraveling, and then the eventual crisis. And then everything falls apart, and then they start all over with the new golden age. So our high was right after World War II, from 46 to 64. Everybody was coming back, high in the hog. That's when we had the American dream. And then from 65 to 84, we had the hippies and the awakening, and the mind expansion. That's when they got out and the CIA actually helped with that. You can check out last week's episode and see how the CIA started the hippie revolution. Then from 85 to 2008, the housing crisis, that's the unraveling. And then from 08 to 2028, maybe, is the crisis. And so, yeah, and I don't think it takes anybody, it's a real stretch in the imagination to know that it's always darkest before the dawn, but we're not quite at midnight yet.
Now, like I've heard,
That sounds like the doom clock. You know how they have the doom clock?
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 minutes to midnight.
Why? Thanks, mastermind. Okay.
that's an upbeat story,
drink to
man.
that.
I wore waterproof mascara this time and no beer.
So on a chipper note, yeah. So and that was a thing with this fourth turning. I was doing all this other research on 100-year cycle, and then I got on these guys, which is more of an 80-year cycle.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so much information, and then they do it back from World War I to World War II the Middle East stuff. And all the and there was just so much information that I blew a circuit in my head, and I can't remember any of the particulars because it was just so overwhelming. So I failed.
Well, no, man. I just wanted to say that the whole theory is actually very well thought out. This isn't like when you first told me about this and we were going to do the show about this, I thought, we were going to be doing something like groundbreaking and like, oh, I was excited for this. Turns out someone already did a lot of research in this and they backed their story up pretty good.
Right.
There's no original thought.
Yeah. I thought we were onto something, and then I just didn't do enough research to realize that somebody already did the research.
I wonder if there were a couple knuckleheads 80 years ago trying to talk about this.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, that's the cycle right there, man.
Yay, show done. Let's go.
Well,
bye,
yeah.
everybody.
And they're talking in chat about the 40-year cycles. There's also that 20-year cycle where every president that was elected with a 0 at the end got popped,
Seriously?
Yeah, well, Lincoln was 1860, Garfield 1880, McKinley was 1900. Is that right? I don't know. 1890, Harrison, Roosevelt, like 1940, Kennedy, 1960, Reagan, 1980. He lived through that. And then Biden was elected in 2020. I'm not sure if he is still alive in office or not. So he's like 6 inches taller than when he started, unless he got 2 midgets in a Biden suit.
So you're saying he died in 2020? Probably from COVID.
No, he was elected in 20. All these guys were elected.
Oh, elected, not
Right.
shot.
Yeah, because Kennedy died in 63.
Okay, I misheard. I'm sorry.
Harding died in 1923, but he was elected in.
Yes, Mouse.
So yeah, if you Biden, I don't know, that might be going into my conspiracy bank. That's why he's got body doubles walking around.
Dude, I've been saying that for months, man. For months. Because when you see the like videos of those fake masks, those prosthetic masks that they have nowadays,
the neck
like
always bunches
recall?
up. Yeah,
dude,
right?
you should see these. These are insanely realistic. And when people put them on,
how do you know? I love that movie. That's the best movie ever. Not Waterworld, by the way. Oh, where are we? Are you still talking about the 100-year cycle? I'm so sorry.
Well, no, we already busted down to the 20-year cycle. So, but the other one that I had, go ahead, Cookies. I had one other one, but it's going to take me a second.
All right, man. Well, I just want to bring up what the cycles are called to the people in case you guys don't know. When he's talking about the turnings, that is the cycles in which that we go through. And when we're in the fourth turning, that's the fourth cycle. It means everything's already happened in the past that we're going to be repeating. And our cycle, it actually contains the 4 generations of this cycle. It's the boomers, the Gen Xers, the Gen Yers, which are usually known as millennials, and then the Gen Zs. So that in this cycle of this turning, as we're experiencing it right now, it is these 4 generations that are going to like battle for dominance during this cycle before the great crisis happens. And like Mastermind was saying, there's actually a lot of research on this. Once you start getting into it, it's kind of crazy.
I looked into it a little bit just because I wanted to inform myself for sure.
Yeah, I would have read the book, but I only had a week, and there's no way that was going to happen. So I watched the video.
I mean, yeah.
Well, there are some predictions that call the crisis actually. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say the notes were saying the 4th and final turning they found was the most tumultuous and transformative, on par with events like the New Deal, right, which happened at World War II, the Civil War, or the American Revolution.
Yeah, they it's not just like they went from civil or
Okay, what about what happened? What you were talking about on your show, Civilian Discourse, when you were talking about what's happening in London?
Oh, the UK riots.
I mean, couldn't that be considered one of the cyclical?
Well, if I knew anything, if I knew enough about European history, and that would.
What is it? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, because we didn't really. Well, I can't say we didn't have anything to do with it, but I mean, depending on if you consider their country's borders to actually mean anything anymore.
Hey, man, I got a real solid connect. I met her through the kids channel of Snitches. She might be in the chat right now. I call her Mom as her code name. But she informs me of some things that happen in Britain. And it's honestly, from what I've heard of a lot of people, is a lot of the things that happen in the UK just mirror a lot of what happens here in the US, except they still have, I think they still have free health. Well, not free healthcare, but universal healthcare.
Yeah, free-ish.
Yep.
Well, I was going to say, if we knew enough about the gentleman, maybe he doesn't say it's societal as a whole, right? And not just America.
Well,
I mean,
but
why would the history?
Because he's an American, and that was. I mean, I would assume, as an assumption, that if you were really into Japanese history, you could probably find 80-year cycles there as well.
Right.
Or if you were Chinese, you could probably find that 80-year cycle going back to.
Right.
But
I'm just wondering, like on a global scale, like you could probably apply a lot of events, like globally, like Bill Moyers and I don't necessarily want to get into this too much, but from a religious perspective, he talks about different stories like the hero's journey and like the flood myths of, when you look at like how history is told. So, it started out verbally, and then it morphed into how history was told through stone tablets like
Right.
Gilgamesh, and then different type of
flood
biblical
story's
documents.
been around for a while.
And so there's been flood stories told on some of the oldest documents, and which stands to reason, that there probably was a great flood or what have you, or cyclical floods through time or what have you.
Well, that falls more to the theory of what is that? The polar shifts.
Right.
Because a lot of the flooding is theoretically related to when poles shift, that the massive waves and water erosion that happened during that time causes catastrophic changes in the Earth's topography.
Right. Well, and that's why Antarctica has petrified wood on it. It wasn't always at the pole.
Well, we don't really know anything about Antarctica other than the few pictures that they show.
Right. I've never been there.
We're not allowed to.
Right.
What?
You can't. Well, you can't. You can't fly there. You can't take a boat there and just jump off on shore.
Okay.
No.
You could dress like a penguin though, and hit your cruise over there.
Or a tin rabbit.
You'd have to get in your Nazi U-boat, and you probably have an autopilot right into their base there. We are going to have to do an episode.
Seagate on it.
All right. We are going to have to do an Antarctica.
We will.
Okay.
We will. I wrote it down.
Just don't get in a Seagate submarine. You'll be fine.
Oh, is that the one? Tell me about that cookie. I don't know.
That's the one that blew up underwater. Looking at.
Oh, yeah.
The Titanic dive.
Yeah.
Was it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Apparently, they're planning another one, man.
They're
right. Someone
it.
was saying,
and they're using fiberglass.
Yes.
That was the thing. They used fiberglass that was deemed stressed. They were using airplane or like Boeing fiberglass that was being shut because it was structurally unsound. So it was a bad idea from the beginning.
Thanks,
I thought
Jack.
they made it out of Pepsi cans, man.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, go ahead, Cookie.
So when we were doing our research, how much of it to you seemed like it was information that we really couldn't rely on? Like you and I both kept showing up to the same source, the Strauss-Howe theory.
Yeah.
And how do you think they did their research for their story? Because a lot of the research that I see off of them, it was based off of historical notes that we already have, that we were given by historical societies and such. How do we know that information isn't wrong? Because a lot of the times, like you were saying, it's the people that win the wars or control the story, control the narrative, can actually create history.
Exactly. Well, and that's the part where, is our history just manipulated? Is it just they rewrite the history? And I want to do an episode on the mud floods. You know anything about the mud floods, Cookies?
No, man. What is it?
Let's dig into that one. Well, it's kind of that thing where, they just wipe everything out and then just restart the program.
That's what I was talking about with ancient history. It's the book I got at the library. It's voodoo history or something. Anyway, but you guys, what you're talking about, Cookie, is like there was a philosopher in the 40s called Karl Popper, and he talked about how society was controlled by powerful peeps, I guess. I found him just Googling stuff you guys gave me. But then it wasn't what I thought it was, but it was just talking about the idea that major events are the result of, quote, a direct design by some powerful individuals and groups.
Oh, no doubt.
So we could get into who those groups are, connecting it to last episode, Operation Mockingbird, I think,
the shadow.
Can the media really manipulate history, and asking people that, and where does history come from? That was another question that I had. Who chooses which stories get told and which stories are erased? And
that's a definition.
How do you record objective truth? Especially now where I could watch a video, and
all that's out the window now with AI.
Given how you guys were talking about DERPA and technology, we're 20 years behind or whatever. We've probably been fooled at least 20 years from a video perspective. Okay, that's
everyone talks
Like-
about it, but I don't think we understand fully yet whether or not nanotechnology is like legit. But there's a lot of theory behind it actually being legit. That once we get into nanotechnology, man, it's game over, man. It's game over.
Well, and that's, they were saying that the government or DARPA or the MIC, they're always 20 or 30 years ahead of us as far as technology. And that was true. And as soon as they had AI, and their AI has been ramping up. That's the one that's been watching us and controlling us for the last 20 freaking years. And we know how powerful it is because we're just getting to play with it now. So we know what we can do with video with AI, and they've had that technology. So anything you've seen on television for the last 10 years is,
Well, did they have I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you just can't say, "Oh, that's shitty AI." When you see shitty AI now, you can recognize it. But the stuff they're cranking, they're doing that on purpose. So you think you know what you think you know. You think you can see it, but you can't see it.
Well, didn't this happen like 100 years ago or so when they started making Turing tests and started programming the Turing tests? Like that was well before AI even existed, and they were already making machines that could respond in a human manner.
Oh,
so
yeah, that was back in the 80s, 70s.
You think
80s,
this correlates with the 100-year theory, and this is just a cycle on that, where now we're doing it with nanotechnology or technology itself?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, weird.
What, Cookie? I didn't follow you on that. So you're saying in the 1920s, what?
In the early, well, it was more, I believe it was more in the 1930s and 1940s.
Okay.
I'll have to look that up for the exact timing.
Okay.
But Turing tests were machines that you could program to give you human-like responses. Like if I would say something like, well, how's the baseball game this week? And then you responded, I don't like baseball. And then the machine itself would read what you said and come up with a valid response that sounded human-like. So it would say, well,
yeah.
They used to do these a long time ago with analog circuitry. Now they can do it with computers.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
No,
I
remember what you're saying. Okay, now I get it.
Yeah.
So is that just the evolution of it in that 100-year period where this is now repeating? Because now the Turing test has evolved so much that we're now into AI and AI shenanigans?
We can all do AI now, though.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm not that good of an artist to draw that bunny up there, but it took me
taken you months to do that.
Took me about 3 seconds to make him, and he's really cute. Oh,
he is really cute.
Oh, you too. I actually
changed.
made 2. Oh, that's why it was. I left it up for the cold open.
I see.
Just for you. She likes the cute bunnies.
So, how can media manipulate history? Like, if we've got so many different media sources now, and we might do a show on like the true meaning of journalism and some mysterious murders of journalists.
Yeah, that's a deep rabbit hole.
Right.
We could.
But
I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
So there were, with Project Mockingbird, there were through the CIA, there were 50 journalists that they didn't publish the names to, and then a couple years later, another journalist came out and said, there's hundreds of them and here they are. So, but no proof on a lot of them, but the government can prove that there were 50. The church committee proved that there were at least 50.
They found.
Anyway, so fake news that can manipulate public perception is what, please, Cookie.
Before we get into that, let me do the habitual begging of likes, shares, and subscribes. So if you guys are just tuning in
it's
or
free.
have just tuned in recently,
give us one. It's free.
Exactly, man. Every little bit helps. If you could just hit that like or share if you already have, just anything would help. Thank you, guys. Now,
thank you.
Yep.
Because you guys thanked last week, we actually got enough on that we got like 5 or 6 people that just clicked through. So we're actually getting seen on, the YouTube algorithm a little. I think it's all the keywords, but I think the thumbs up helped.
I forgot to put this up when you guys were talking about the cycles. and you did use that, that it
Mhm.
rhymes. Like it doesn't. And Cookie, like your stock market cryptocurrency theory, I was like, oh, that sounds so good, and like,
Well, and
that's the whole thing is theories, like in the scientific process, right? You come up with your educated guess of something happening, and I have no knowledge
Well,
of history,
and
so I couldn't even
at the
participate
beginning of
in it.
America, I think they had
Yeah.
like Virginia script, which I think was kind of their cryptocurrency of the time. I don't know how, because I'm not sure what they were backing it by, which is, I don't know what they're
just
backing Bitcoin with either. So,
Well,
hard
that's
to
how
prove. Yeah, go ahead.
I believe that's how the stock market crash started back in like the 1920s. Was that nothing was backing anything. So when the stock market started to collapse, people started losing everything. So now they put in a lot of regulations, and that's what they're trying to do with crypto now too. Is there was a big push. I think it was about 4 years ago. I think it was about 4 years ago where there was a big push to have the government come in and regulate crypto. There was a lot of the quote unquote progressive leftist side
right.
wanted the government to come in and start regulating crypto. A lot
I
of
heard-
people said, "Go ahead."
Well,
It was pretty bad environmentally too, or something. Is that
Well, yeah,
oh,
or
that's
like
because
data
it taxes.
mining or I don't know.
No, it's actually very
Oh.
taxing on the power grid because they actually got kicked out of 3 countries for taxing out their power grids.
just for
I'm sorry for laughing.
mining
That's not funny.
cryptocurrency.
They
Yep.
people who wanted to use
Countries, because
Oh.
when crypto camps on your resources like that, because energy is a resource, when they camp on that energy, you have to pay the country a stipend, and they have a legal agreement to keep you in that country using their energy resource as long as you pay them. I bet you can't guess where the majority of them moved to.
Uh-huh.
Is Dr. Nick right?
What to say? Russia said they will allow Bitcoin mining.
Right.
Great.
It's a new
Is he
Cold,
wrong? I don't
it's
know.
a new Cold War.
Yeah, they all moved to Texas.
Yeah.
Oh, I
and-
see.
Where they got the shittiest power grid in the country.
Yep. What's his name? The goofy looking fucker, the governor that ran for president. What was his name?
Oh,
They're
is
all
that
goofy looking.
Rubio?
No.
Oh, no. Which one?
That chubby one.
Oh,
Looks like the penguin.
Ted Cruz.
No. Yeah, him. Ted Cruz.
Oh,
And he was the
Lauren
governor that
Boebert's
brokered that.
pimp.
Yeah,
Ooh.
right.
Don't insult
All
my
right.
lady like that.
Okay, let's move on. So does that mean okay, and we're like always questioning textbooks, and we could get into the educational aspect, because can we trust the facts? Like, okay, we know World War I happened between, I don't know the exact years, please, between this year and this year, right? But why it happened, the
World War I was
historicism.
1914.
Thank you. The historicism
But
part
there
of
was
it.
also a war of 1812. So that's a 100-year cycle there.
What war? Oh, the War of 18.
Yeah, ask me when the War of 1812 was. Do it. Come on. Ask
When
me.
was the War of 1812?
1997.
Anyway,
Sorry. Go ahead.
facts, you can't, like, that's why I like listening to news when I ever do, but that has the least amount of adjectives. Then I know I'm like probably listening to more facts, like this happened, not why it happened, or the historicism part of it.
Oh, I thought you meant
You know?
didn't like them referring to themselves as she, shims, or of that nature.
What do you mean? Like,
Never mind.
I
It was a
don't-
joke that
oh.
fell flat. Forget it. Yeah, I need my soundboard up.
Right?
yeah, you do. When we're just
At
having
least
those
a-
late night combos and
Yep.
you do it. But I want to talk about
Wait, I
brainwashing
think
the
I can do it.
babies.
Hold on.
Okay.
Ah,
okay.
there you go. Nice.
Thanks. Oh, boy, that came at the wrong time when I said brainwashing our children.
Oh yeah.
But really, that's, from a history. Well, I mean, a teacher over and over again. I mean, I wavered between like, I'm really helping them learn things versus, the standards on a national level are really reliant on who's in political power. And so who's in political power says what they're like. Mastermind and I grew up in the 80s, 70s, some of us the 80s, but
she's not.
but I didn't learn about like Native Americans or, even the Holocaust really either, or I wasn't paying attention very much. But I was in Southern Nevada at the time. So it was more of a red state, conservative. And versus when I went to college in California.
Red states like to whitewash their history.
I didn't stop crying.
By white, I mean white.
For weeks when I found out what we did to Native Americans. And, and I think about my son knows all this information now because we've got all this info in addition to the standards in Colorado are really progressive. It's not even progressive. They're just they're not whitewashing history.
You're a victim of critical race theory. Ooh.
What's that?
Critical race theory? That's a long explanation.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's not even YouTube appropriate, I don't think.
Okay.
We probably shouldn't even say those words.
Teaching. Yeah. Oh, is that when I had a bunch of protesters out in front of our school district because I taught third graders about Ruby Bridges and segregation?
Like a moth you mean that? To a flame.
No, they didn't protest for that. They actually wanted us to teach about Ruby Bridges and how she had to get escorted by the police in the third grade.
Yes.
And we're in a really red, this was the last place the Ku Klux Klan was around and stuff.
Right.
And this was really, I was scared to teach it to the kids because I thought parents would get upset. But, it's just things that we hear on social media.
I think if it was 20 years ago, you would have had quite a problem. But I think that we're all, that's kind of how, when we're in what they're saying, the unraveling phase of our turning, that even nobody wanted to go to World War I or World War II. But once we were there, everybody came together. And at that point, there was unity in this country. I mean, it wasn't until Vietnam where people started saying, "Hey, wait, this is some bullshit here."
I kind of felt that during the Ukraine situation, quote unquote. I felt a good
for a minute.
Yes,
and for a minute, it was there. Yeah,
everything now currently, man. I'd hate to be such a downer, but I don't have any faith in protesting because usually you don't see anything come out of it.
Oh,
public awareness.
Really? I'm sorry.
That's something. I mean, if you did a protest where nobody saw it, then it would be nothing. But those stupid kids that would glue their hands to the glass, dumb as fuck. But we all know it happened, so it fucking worked. Good job, At least they got awareness to their plight, whatever their plight may be. If it's fossil fuels or whatever, Palestine or whatever you're protesting. If you are getting people to at least realize that there's a problem there. It's the same thing as a strike. That's why they pick it out front and back. If you just have a strike and nobody's there, then nobody knows what's going on. But if you can have a picket line out front, then you're putting pressure on their public face and they have to address it at some point.
I don't know about that, man. Because look at all the campus protests. A lot of them showed a lot of people, a lot of power. And how many of those schools actually divested? From what I've heard, I think it was one or two.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the big ones.
Did they get Columbia?
May I interrupt? I didn't really, other than him telling me, I didn't hear about really what was going on with the war till the protests on the campus started, till they started blowing a stink about it. And then the mainstream media was telling the whole truth. I feel like that's what happened. Am I missing?
They started telling the truth after they were done with what they were planning on doing. Right. But they haven't even finished their quote unquote mission that BB had mentioned. This is getting way off topic. We should actually get back to the original.
We're going to just we could go back to
keep brainwashing right into that children until you get us kicked right off of YouTube.
Who, me? I don't understand.
I can't control her.
We're not going to get kicked off.
Okay.
We just won't get promoted, is what you guys say.
That's all right.
Hey, audience, if they happen to take our channel down, the next one will be Tin Rabbit Podcast with a 1. and then
Right.
a 2, and then a 3, and we'll keep going that way.
Oh, cool.
Just like Sean. Sean
Yep.
showed us the way.
We will call it the Sean theory.
Sean cycles.
He is the Accord Lord, by the way.
He is. All righty. So
we could keep talking about education if you want. I mean,
yeah, please.
About whitewashing history.
That was good. You're on a roll.
I mean, when you talk about CRT, I mean, I played kind of dumb there, Cookie. I'm sorry, but American Birthright. Depending on there's the national standards, which kids get tested on. Students, we don't call them kids; they're not freaking goats. But yeah, I'm going to call them kids right now.
Better than I am.
So better than what?
Goblins.
Crotch goblins. I call them fomites, which is a contaminated object like a doorknob or a light switch.
Fomite, yeah.
Anyway, because they spread a lot of germs too.
They sure
but they're
do.
so cute.
Sometimes.
And really, I used to make bad jokes. The reason why I became a teacher was so I could brainwash them to recycle. That was my only initiative, was to encourage environmental awareness.
If you can't beat them, find them, and then beat them again.
Yeah, I don't know.
Get them while they're young. That's what R. Kelly says.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And the military.
Oh, yes, the military.
Yeah, right.
Oh, big time.
Yeah. Stay away from my kid.
That one wasn't as funny.
Kind of off topic, but we actually got to sign a thing that the military is not allowed to approach our son on campus. No bueno. No bueno. And if they do, I can sue them. Order. I love it. Make those Stay away from my child.
Right.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen out there, if you didn't know, you can get a restraining order on military personnel on your campus.
There you go.
Really?
No,
you just told us.
What you said.
Oh.
We can.
Well, we can. No. If it has to be in your district and you have to vote for it and be involved with your...
and that's what you were talking about before. It's like who's writing the history books and who's teaching those books in school. And thank God it's not, there are federal standards, but at least there is the states. And then it's even then broken down into school districts. So it's all these little principalities and kingdoms that you have to deal with. So you could have a book that's written one way in this place and a book that's written way different, teaching that cavemen rode on dinosaurs.
That's why we have standardized testing. And a lot of people don't like that either. There are federal
standards, yeah.
Well, state standards. We do state testing. And then also... I don't know if districts, we have like little tests where actually the teachers get evaluated on whether we're meeting district. But they can't be less stringent. They can't. Sorry, Cookie?
I don't think the standards are high enough. I think they should actually be a lot higher. Like, I believe we're one of the lowest testing countries in the first world countries. And that's, I don't know, that's not something as for those people that... Yeah, but for those people that are hardcore American.
Well, first off,
it is. It's the fluoride. Of course, we're done with. Between the fluoride and the fluorocarbons and the lead, I'm surprised I can form a sentence at this point.
There was just different ways to write history, and I know that like the district approves the history books, but also there's big money to be made in textbooks. And the education.
Yeah. Have you seen those textbooks in colleges? They're like $200-$300 for a brand new book.
Elementary school. Like what books to teach our children in elementary school? And there's someone connected it for me, one of my friends, and I might get the names wrong, but it was like McGraw-Hill, who's grandpa? They're the grandpa of Gillian Maxwell.
Robert Maxwell.
I don't want to get into it. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's, that part of it, like whoever the highest, whatever, to educate our children. But then also it gets supplemented. So you can't get, just like with hazardous waste laws, you can't get less stringent, but you can get more stringent.
Right.
So like if the state law says you have to teach about Ruby Bridges, or you have to teach, about Native American.
Would they do that at the state level?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you have state standards. Those are the main ones. Okay. And then the district votes on how to teach that. So like, am I allowed to show a video of angry white women screaming at little Ruby going into the building? Or, which I did make kids cry. I made them cry showing them this. Yeah. I got approval for it. And
or is it just
I'm dealing
a
with a bunch of crying
cartoon
kids.
with the contrast turned
down? What? Yeah, no, I missed it. I'm sorry.
That's all right. You wouldn't have laughed anyway.
To our point. But
it was a good one too.
Cookie's laughing.
Tell me.
No.
Oh, okay.
It's too late. You missed the
joke. All right. Yeah. I'm not even paying attention.
You can catch it on the rewind. I know you like to watch yourself.
Dig. Big dig.
Sorry, baby.
My heart hurts.
Who's there? I'm sorry.
You're so
I apologize.
Okay. McGraw-Hill. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Because they had a textbook. This is so gross. That referred to enslaved people as workers and compared the Atlantic slave trade to other patterns of immigration. So, some people got really mad. And in the 1990s, so I said, okay, well, how are history books made? Who makes these textbooks? And, how are they made and stuff? And you could basically, you could take a class and get certified and write a history book and then propose it to your districts,
And you get to decide what is proper history that's being put on those reports.
Right. So people started asking that a lot more recently in the 90s. A committee was formed with, it was called the Culture War.
It was formed a committee to get me off the block.
I don't get it.
It's okay. It's okay, baby. She was raised by Amish.
Yeah.
Those Vegas Amish.
Jenny on the block?
No, it's okay.
Oh, okay. On the block, like political people?
It's Beastie Boys.
Oh, damn it. I love
know
the Beastie Boys. I'm not listening.
That's why
I'm trying to pay attention to 10 other things.
I know. That's why I was throwing you off. I'm sorry. I apologize again. But it was fun.
Well, anyway, it was people like Lynn Cheney, Rush Limbaugh, and American Enterprise Institute fellows.
That would be the committee they'd formed to get me off the block.
Also, I noticed... Damn it. I'm sorry. Thinking about something else. You're making smart-ass comments.
I'm sorry. I'm done. I won't do it.
Here, you read it.
No, I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
You read it. Anyway, so I remember looking up educational stuff when different presidents were in power, because you can see what they're focusing on if you go to whitehouse.gov and you look at like their initiatives and all this stuff. And Trump was really into education. He just loved getting into education.
I'm sure he was, as he turned every fucking public school into a charter school and stole all that money with Betsy DeVos. Oh, go on.
Betsy was like, a lot of teachers were comparing her going when Jill got into power, because, whatever. But on Harry Potter, when that witch, what was her name? They were putting Betsy DeVos's face in there. I knew that one. Okay. Really surprised, not much. Oh, okay. But this administration, Jill Biden being in education, I'm surprised I didn't see more in education.
Yeah,
I was
really
a little disappointed with that one.
Yeah.
She was too busy running the remote control. It's hard to get him to walk sometimes with that RC controller. If you flick it, he'll fall up the stairs and shit. So
you got to press the Y button.
Right.
Interesting. So Colorado. Sorry.
No, please.
Colorado learned. So we got it in our state standards that we will teach about the Holocaust. We will teach about genocide, media literacy, like how to check so if I teach, I am protected. If I teach the kids about genocide, I'm not going to get like sued and stuff.
Why don't you teach the kids about
It depends on which side you teach on that.
Well, it's agreed upon. So the district will take the state standards and say, these are the resources you can use to teach them about genocide, right? But then you also have to teach them about media literacy, which means checking your resources. How often are they doing fact checks, which isn't why someone's done something. It's this happened on this day, facts. Like we landed on the moon in What
Did
year
we
live?
now?
Yeah, we'll get
I'm
into
just
that.
joking. I don't know.
Wait, run that ticker.
Put
run
up that
ticker.
ticker. Okay.
Run that beautiful bean footage.
Fine. I'll get rid of
Right
Betsy.
there.
Okay. Oh,
Ah,
Oh,
wait.
how
no.
dare you?
oh, you double clicked.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
How do we get rid of? Whoops. Okay, you guys, we could ask questions to the audience and start interacting with them. I have 10
Is it-
starred comments.
Oh
but
yeah, we're already 50 minutes. Jeez, time flies when
It
you're
does.
ignoring my jokes.
Did you get that one?
She got-
Right in
she's
the
laughing.
face.
She
I'm
got-
turning red. I'm sorry. My multitasking.
That's
Oh,
it.
anyway, civics and financial literacy we have to teach, which I think is good. Minority groups must be included in the teaching of history and government.
Why don't any
It's
of these
Gross that we
districts-
have to write that down as a law.
Well, like it matters anyway, because just because you get black faces in high places doesn't mean that they're going to do a goddamn thing for them anyway.
So Colorado,
No, I'm like
Change that.
Kamala or Brock or anybody. Yeah, they got their face as high as they could, and he didn't do.
anything for
Well,
education and
he got himself a house at Martha's
Minority
Vineyard.
history?
That's something,
I don't know. I don't
Already
know.
got
enough
himself
about
some
the
new
Obama
mittens, man.
administration.
right?
Totally helped out the education system.
I just focused on, it seems like, home rule is important in the state of Colorado. So, meaning that they'll leave it up to the counties and the district a lot, but they did have to, that they have to make that a law. You have to teach about, you can't whitewash things.
They only have to make it a law because
And
there's a district that
protects
didn't
me.
want to do it.
as a teacher, and if you're a parent, a guardian, an auntie, an uncle,
Not every
you
law
can-
protects you.
Oh yeah, no, that's definitely true.
what do you mean?
Not every law protects you. Like stop and
As a-
frisk laws, were those meant to protect
Oh.
people?
I meant as a teacher in the classroom
Oh,
from being, we won't get into it. I'm done with that one.
okay.
'Cause
Anyways,
I've
we
been
were going to
attacked by
interact with the
parents
audience.
physically.
Right?
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna. Okay.
Are you gonna get your star
I don't
comments?
know. Oh,
Because I haven't been
Somebody
looking. I've
thinks
been
college
trying
is a
to
scam.
not intentionally not look at the chat because then I get
Oh,
distracted.
yeah.
Yes, I do. I got ADD like that.
You do.
Schools of stay. Yeah, definitely. Sorry.
Okay, we'll get into it. Give me a second.
Don't you?
Yes, I'm just
Oh,
finishing up. Okay.
Sorry, I reached across
That's
the
okay.
camera. That was very unprofessional of me.
So we'll go, and this is early in the conversation when we were talking about cycles of history, and
Only the highly differentiated individual can escape the cycle of history.
so I think because we were talking about people being dumb,
Right.
Well, that's why we're. So what is our conclusion about why are we repeating it? You go. Whoever wants to go first. Why? I mean, Cookie and I have the same school of thought, so Cookie can probably speak for me as well.
I wouldn't want to speak for you, but my theory behind that would be that I think that we're kept uneducated on purpose. And now that there's cyclical proof of it, anything that higher society can do to keep a populace that is easily controlled, dumb, and subservient, that's what they'll do. So they want nothing but drones. They want slaves of us. So I've said it 1,000 times. I'm sure everyone's heard it 1,000 times, but they want people just smart enough to work the machines, but not question their position in that.
Yeah, that was
Cycle.
The Rockefeller, and he the one that started making all the schools back then.
Yeah, but
started
it's changed.
ringing bells to change classes.
National standards have changed. Where we're setting our
talking about
children
history.
for
We're
20.
talking about the cycles of history. We're not talking
Rockefeller,
about
but
right
we were
this
training
second.
our children, and that speaks to like college is a scam.
That's
Like
what he
we're
was
making
saying.
the little robots and Pink Floyd kind of stuff. But really, teachers are trying, and educators, thousands of them were like, we got to stop having the rows and separating people and all this, and get everybody together. We're going to work in circles.
Right. And then
Kumbaya.
yeah,
you know,
because
like
it's acceptable for people at Google and
21st
Facebook to
century
work like that.
skills.
They all work in there.
exactly.
Yeah, but
work
so
together.
you're still teaching them the same thing. You're just letting them go do it in a circle with an espresso maker.
Okay. What's
No,
your
I-
conclusion?
I already gave my conclusion. What's
No,
the next
him.
comment?
Oh. Yeah, no,
Why we repeat?
why? Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily fate. I think that, yeah,
Like
it's
simulation.
just that there's a playbook that's been used for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a long, long time. And there's people that have been using that playbook, and they're the ones that have the printing presses. They're the ones that are
Yep.
in the state house telling you what the standards are going to be for whatever purpose, whatever history, whatever opinion they're pushing. But as long as they do it in an 80 or 100-year cycle, then nobody's alive that can say, oh, shit, I remember this. This happened before. Because no matter what you read or you think you know, that doesn't compare to things that have happened to you that you experience.
Yeah.
If you experience it, you know what's going on. Like we know what's going on right now. But if, our grandchildren aren't going to understand this.
Yeah, that's why oral history is important. So I live by example for my child.
She said oral.
Oh my God.
Sorry, it's getting late. It's getting late. What do you expect? The hour is drawn
looking for more
nigh.
notes.
The time.
That's why oral history is
time on
important
the
in
cycle.
teaching our children the importance of what we want them to know. I'm getting, and I'm seeing this a little bit in the comments, and, I get it. We need to teach our children financial literacy. Colorado just made that a law. We need to teach our children home economics. There's, we also have parents who aren't participating, and we're putting a lot on the government's shoulders to teach our children on a societal level, which is scary. Why aren't the guardians taking, ownership? What's happening?
It wouldn't have to
That's
be
just so overwhelming.
It
That's
wouldn't have to be 100 years ago where the people of this country would think it's absolutely insane that you would turn over the raising of your children to a complete stranger. That was removing us from our family. We are being removed from the importance of our family. It used to be
now we're going to get into feminism.
Always family first.
Yeah.
Always family first.
I don't want to talk about that.
Okay, so the next comment here
is how and that's what you do. A good educator teaches our children how to think, not what to think.
What Volunteero said right in the comment is
yes.
you can't be a teacher in good standing if you're interested in teaching kids how to think, not what to think.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's kind of goes into my theory about how the internet is just we'll talk about DARPA, how the internet was just given to us to make us dumber. You think you're getting all this information, you have all this access, you can watch YouTube videos, but when it comes down to it, if you learn something and you don't have to do the legwork to learn it, you're just taking everything on face value, then when they scrub the internet and start making 2 + 2 = 5, nobody's going to question it because it's on the internet. It's on the Google. Google said it's 2 + 2 = 5.
Well,
that's why
it's always been 2 + 2 = 5, and it only takes 80 years for people to go, yeah, it's always been that way. Always 2 + 2 always = 5. Look, it's in Google.
That's how the arithmetic started, actually, was that people started math and they were like 2 + 2 = 4. And then you just have to prove it. If you can somehow prove 2 + 2 = 5 and be it like accepted science, then yeah, you're absolutely correct.
You don't even have to prove it. You just have to you have to just throw shade and have doubt that 2 + 2 actually = 4. Because if you can sow doubt in that, then you leave the possibility of 5 being the correct answer.
Well, isn't that how a lot of the conspiracy theories begin? Like, let's take the Hollow Earth one that's coming up here. If the Hollow Earth theory there is nothing but someone was like, well, we have been given an established theory of the world is round, it's global, we only have topography, we only have the top of it. But now there's another theory saying, oh, we have a hollow Earth, we have entrance points to another world. Eventually, people started catching on to it, and now there is a whole theory of a hollow Earth because of the same reason. If you repeat it enough, it becomes.
Nice one, Cobra. Yeah, I'd love to read that. No, that's
it was funny. Sorry. I had to put that up.
Yeah.
I'm
sorry, Cookie. I interrupted you.
Oh, dude, I fucking started reading the comment and forgot what I was saying.
Yeah,
Move on to the next one.
it was that good, Cobra.
Yeah, Cobra is funny. I'm
Oh, yeah.
sorry, whoever this Cobra
Because
person
as
is
soon
so
as he
funny.
read that, I was like, oh yeah. Well, they've already got Thor in there. You know, that would be really easy to just slip Wolverine in there next to Thor, have them go to Valhalla together.
This is right.
Yeah,
I don't know much about Marvel.
Though they're both Marvel. At least it
than-
wasn't DC. You couldn't get Batman in there.
Hold on, I have to read them.
I know, Kate.
Slow down.
I just wanted to. I know it's off topic
Kate.
though.
Hi, Kate.
But we're
and
interacting with
I
the
just want to
audience,
talk
right?
about. Yeah, I want to talk about her. No, I put it back up. What she's talking about. This is the first part. So my current example: the city of Vancouver has been logging Stanley Park. I'm one of the 4 plaintiffs taking city park board, logging company, and arborist to court to stop the clear cutting. That's how you get them, Kate. Take them to court.
Yep, keep doing the legwork.
Sorry, and then I'll be caught.
Yep.
Since we filed the lawsuit 2 weeks ago, every top news story in Vancouver on MSM, mainstream media, is all about the deaths caused by forest fires in Canada. Stanley Park is a fucking park, not an enormous forest. So just by manipulating, I think is what she's saying. Oh,
chaff and redirect.
The media is horrible, especially with environmental movements. I mean, I had a gag order. I couldn't even, I would have gotten in trouble for half the stuff. Anyway, the government put gag orders on me. Yes, it did. And the government did it. The company men, they said, don't talk. Don't talk. Anyway, I thought it was really cute. This little tit for tat here. Time, I said tit. Time is an illusion generated by memory. Right. And then Sean came back with conspiracy is a time theory itself.
Right.
Ooh, Jacqueline, she's always one step ahead of us and thought in our conversation. So it kind of sounds like she's repeating, but I start before we actually even start talking about it. Go ahead, Cookie.
All right.
You want to read it?
Yeah. This one's, of course, from Jacqueline. It says, I wonder if the phenomenon of history repeating itself or being of cyclical nature is just confined to certain countries or it's universal to every country in the world. Now, that is, I would have to argue it is not, and it is. It's a weird system because what we're taught here in the U.S. isn't being taught in the U.K., but it matters who's going to be there in the long run. Because, for example, if we go back to the histories of the Crusades, who was making the rules in the history back then was the churches and Anglo-Saxons. They were the ones making the. So in that area, not to mention, we don't hear the history teachings that goes on in something like Germany or in the UK or anything of that nature. We don't get their history. We don't understand what they're being taught in schools. Just the same way a lot of them don't understand what we're being taught in schools. A lot of them figure it out by interacting from people in other countries that they're like, oh, there's actual differences. Nobody knows that until you start having the discussions.
Right. And I think that would be a good acid test to see whether or not that was, if the people writing the history books are the ones doing it, or if it's actually fate and the universe doing it, would be that you should have those same cycles in every culture around the world, right? I mean, even 80-year cycles in the Australian outback with the Aborigines. They should have an 80-year cycle too. What that looks like, I have no idea. But if that isn't the case, then if it's uniquely American, then I think that it's something that's been written down by people. That didn't make sense.
I wasn't listening to that. I'm so sorry.
That's being used as propaganda to,
That makes sense.
But I'm just going to go back to the simulation and go. It's read-only memory, so it's not random access. So once they get through the whole cycle of events, they just start over at the beginning.
It is glorified brainwashing to a certain extent, but not, and that goes back to teaching them how to think. And I was going to say, that's why I love logic so much, which is basically the basis of computer programs, and also the basis of law and philosophy is logic.
Logic is cool.
Yeah. And I used to teach logic in colleges, and I know he thinks that's really funny, but I didn't say anything.
I didn't say. I didn't even make a noise.
I'm the smartest, dumbest person you'll ever meet.
Massaging my mustache.
So there's that.
The mustache looked tense. It needed a massage real quick. Give it a happy ending.
I do agree. Other mother. I can't.
Oh, your mom's here. Let's keep it classy
she
here.
I need a towel.
We are teaching it.
Go back
It's
to
just
teaching
an
home ec,
elective,
woodworking,
other mother.
mechanics, and yeah.
At least
you have to pick, but
yeah, the kids can pick it.
It depends on
It's pretty
cool.
unpopular, man. But I would like them to teach like tax preparation, account
Personal
balancing.
finance.
Yes.
No,
We do.
What I'd like to do
I don't
is
see it very often.
teach them how to write legislation, so they just eliminate the tax.
I taught third graders how I gave them
Nice
bucks.
dream.
We got a grant. We got a grant to teach. We had to get extra money to teach nutrition, extra money to teach personal finance on top of meeting all the standards, on top of, teachers with 35 kids in the classroom. It's the parent's job to teach about money. It's the parent's job or the guardian. Like, I'm just, for those
that
kitchen
doesn't always
table
work, though.
conversations.
That doesn't work,
and then
though,
if
'cause
it
some people are
doesn't,
bad with money.
Well,
then you go take a community college class and brainwash yourself how to handle money. I get it, but we have to get grants and have other people come in and teach these things. Because if we're trying to if 75% of the people who are eligible to read, out of that 75%, only half of them are reading above a 6th grade level.
7th or no 5th. It went down. Not up.
No, it
5th grade.
didn't.
Yeah, it's 5th grade.
Really?
level now.
I haven't been in the classroom in a couple of years.
Well,
so I
that's
don't know the
because
stats on that,
they increased their standards for 6th grade. So it just made everybody else dumber because now they can't read at a 6th grade level because they increased the standards. It's not the people
we're
are
trying
dumber.
Maybe
it's a little
know.
both. Yeah.
Jacqueline had something to say about because you had mentioned stop and frisk laws, and I said no cookie in the classroom. If you want to address some of that, read that.
Yeah, those stop and frisk laws, also known as the sus laws, which in the UK mainly targeted black men during the 1980s and were largely responsible for the 1980 riots in the UK. Now that's interesting because did that influence Joe Biden as he thought up of the stop and frisk laws? Did he look at their history and saw what it did and wanted to do it himself? Because that's literally what the stop and frisk laws did here in the US, and especially in New York areas, highly populated, segregated areas like New York and California were very susceptible to the stop and frisk laws. So
I think New York especially was bad at that.
Are you guys? Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, that's way off topic.
Need a little more. No.
Do we have a time limit?
No, I'm trying. Well, anything's going to be off topic.
Okay.
We're going to bounce around things we talked about.
Oh, yeah, it's funny how you keep going back to the education.
No, I didn't mean to. You're pressuring me. Stop the pressure.
Expand your horizons.
Old man Baker's going to help me out.
Ignore the evidence of your eyes and ears.
Which what they've done to us through AI, and now I can't trust any video I watch. Or
what you need to realize is you can't trust any of the videos you've watched for years.
I'm just going to roll some comments.
I think that's the lesson to be learned here.
Wesley Donison.
I don't know who that is, but he seems.
Hey, Wesley.
Hi, Wesley. He's had a couple things that made me laugh.
You want me to read it, or
I'm just rolling through some comments from people, and if you guys want to jump on.
They're just normal people unaware of their bias. Yeah, because they know what they were taught by their history teacher, and like I said, that only takes about a human lifetime before those things get forgotten.
I disagree with that. Like, I used to date a history guy, but then he ended up falling in love with his male professor, and I got totally dumped.
Sucks.
Sounds like a real Socrates situation there.
Sounds real lame.
I think he was even his Greek.
He was dating Plato.
But anyway, that was bad. Anyway, I disagree. They really analyze. They have like historic ethics now, like they do with teaching ethics or whatever. So if you're a historian, there is no objective truth.
Doctors have methical ethics. That doesn't mean
there's no objective truth, but you can list facts, and you could say that it's a theory. and support your
true.
theory with other historical evidence.
Sure.
But yeah,
Well, that was the whole point of this show today, and we couldn't prove our theory. But that doesn't mean it's disproven. It just means it doesn't have enough statistical evidence to be proven.
Right. You have, it's like anything else. It's like science. You have to take it on faith.
Yeah.
Yeah. She hates it when I say that because she knows I'm right.
I believe in science.
Science requires as
you
much
can't
faith
believe.
as religion.
Shut up! It's not Santa Claus, Cookie. No, don't shut up. No,
I didn't say anything.
Yeah, you did. You just said I believe in science.
Really?
Yes, I did say that.
I believe
It
in
is.
Jesus.
I think
Same statement.
so. I took the scientific ethics class. It was called the philosophy of physics. It was awesome, and it talked about science filling in where religion couldn't answer. That was the last comment.
Cool.
It's
That's all
from our new dude Wesley.
All right,
who's
right on.
joined us.
I just want to make sure we got our business taken care of because we are at an hour and 11 minutes. So
Have we dotted our I's and crossed our
no,
lowercase
not
J's?
even close.
So-
That's why I wanted to. There's no
Cookie.
kicker tonight because we literally ran out of time doing an episode about time. So but there's no irony there.
There were things we didn't really hit on. I mean, I noticed at the beginning of the show, people were like thinking father time, and like you could get into the whole philosophical, the more you know time, the faster it goes, and relativity with physics, in the fourth dimension. Like, we didn't even think about.
No, we were just talking about the manipulation of time.
Manipulation.
We could talk about the conspiracy of the physics of time because.
Mm-hmm.
And that if time is even real, just because you experience it literally, you experience a record player literally, but that doesn't mean you can't take that whole record, flip it upside down, and play the other side.
I would like that, man. That's a nice dream.
Right.
I would like that. So, real quick, I want to take a couple minutes here to thank the participants over at YouTube who made accounts and join the chat over there. If you're listening and you don't have an account, I would highly recommend you make an account so you can join the participants in the comment section in the chat. Now, we have here today, we got Abby Do right at the top of the list. Please be sure to tune into Abby Do and Mastermind's channel. And then she also,
Discourse?
Yes, sir. And then she also has one with Michael for Noteworthy. So check her out.
Check them out.
Awesome.
On Thursdays.
They have good discussions on there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mom was here, Cheryl Smith. So nice to see her. We got Dr. Nick. He's my dude. Dr. Nick's the man. Earl of Laurel. That's my little brother right there, my older little brother. And here we got Mom. Mom's here, Jacqueline.
Hi, Jacqueline. Thank you for staying up again.
And for such
You little
thoughtful,
insomniac, you.
She had some more comments that she was talking about what her kids were taught and that they didn't get taught that. And that she was one of those moms that
we got
educated her kids about.
We got that education thing coming up in the future, so we'll be able to talk about that. And I'm sure she'll have a lot to input there.
Right.
We also have Yanni Chingas was here.
Johnny.
Hi, Johnny.
We got Judy. Judy was here for a little while.
Judy.
Hi. Kamashari Kate was here. Sean the Accord Lord was here. He's a good cat. The Tin Rabbit podcast obviously is here. And Volantera.
Hey. All right, Volantera. Yeah, I shouldn't gender guess.
Yeah.
I'm still going to say he. You can correct
They're
me if I'm wrong.
involved.
Right.
Well, because the picture looks masculine.
Yeah.
So it's misleading.
Right.
I don't even know what that word means.
But
maybe we could look at
they
it.
always have good comments to make.
Yeah.
Interesting. Smart.
Right on, man. Do you guys have any closing comments you want to make?
Yeah, let's just, I want to talk about our next show is August 21st. And we're going to talk about, is NASA real?
Fake NASA.
Or they will.
Fake NASA going to
I
the
think
fake
it was
moon.
real. I grew up next to an ammonium perchlorate plant that exploded and rocked my world.
I did say rockets were fake. I said NASA's fake.
They supplied the majority of rocket fuel to NASA, though, but that's a whole other.
And they
that's
supply
next
most of the
week.
propaganda
We'll get
for
into
the
that next week,
military-industrial
possibly.
complex. But
Ooh, this is gonna be fun, man.
I don't want to. Should we argue?
no,
Do you
no,
really?
you can bring your
You're
opinions,
a
and I'll bring
bickering old
photos.
couple.
You
I
bring
just
your
get my
opinions,
popcorn and watch.
I'll bring
No.
physical evidence.
Cookies on my side.
Okay, that's
I
fine.
am not, madam. Do not misinform him.
I'll go 2-on-1 with my arm tied behind my back at just one photo of the moon where they got all the stuff in front and then all the painted backdrop.
You know the problem with no kicker? We don't know when to say goodbye.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, sorry.
Bye.
Bye,
Have a good
everyone.
night, everybody. Be safe, Fluffles, and keep that tinfoil hat on.
Yeah, right on.